Caitlin Brady is the Norwegian Refugee Council's country director and joins us now from Goma in the east of the DRC. Caitlin, thank you so much for your time. I mean, this is quite clearly a pre-planned massacre, but who would conduct such an operation and why attack people in a camp for IDPs?
Yeah, thanks. That's a really hard question to answer with any degree of certainty. There are a lot of armed groups operating in this area, and as you said, some of them are ethnically aligned. There's a lot of attack and reprisal attack, action and response. And I can only guess that this is in response to another action. But obviously, such a massacre of civilians, as you mentioned, an estimated 60 civilians, at least 14 of which were children, can never be justified. Even in times of war, there are rules. So it's a good question.
Is there security at these camps? I mean, we're saying that more than 70 or around 70 people have been killed since November in 5 other camps. Is there security there to protect the civilians?
Yeah, very good question. There's about 1.5 million people displaced in this province, Ituri alone, and over 5 million internally displaced in eastern DRC. Protecting these people, in addition to civilians, is really challenging, especially when you have armed groups that don't hesitate to massacre civilians. And I cannot condemn it enough. The Norwegian Refugee Council believes that there are never any circumstances in which an attack on civilians are justified or an attack on displaced people who are in fact the most vulnerable. They've already fled violence, seeking peace, and now they find more violence in their place of refuge.
I mean, a few years ago, there was a European Union peacekeeping force, Artemis, wasn't there, that quelled about 4 or 5 years of inter-ethnic violence between the Lendu and the Hema communities. Why are they fighting? There are some indications that they're fighting over natural resources, but don't those resources belong to the government?
The historical roots of the conflict are competition over resources, access to land for pastoralists and agriculturalists. There is mining in the region, mining of gold, mining of gemstones. That leads to conflict when the rule of law is not adequately enforced, let's say. And there's also competition for political power, locally and nationally. And the plethora of small weapons in these areas means anyone can take up arms and attack another group. And that's one of the ways that we've seen this proliferation of armed groups in the East. One group takes up arms against another, and then everybody has to protect themselves. So many of these groups will claim to be for self-protection. It's hard to then root out who's right, who's wrong, and I think you would be mistaken to try. At the end of the day, we need a negotiated peace settlement. We need all the parties to the conflict to come together and try and find a peaceful solution, a way to live together in peace, if not in harmony.
Caitlin, thank you so much indeed for your time. Really glad that we managed to re-establish that connection. And obviously, good luck with your work for the Norwegian Refugee Council. Caitlin Brady in Goma.